Okay, hey, welcome to my channel. This is going to be the first time I do any post recording. I lost the original recording for these, but this is going to be my full playthrough of my run. As you can see, I'm running Echoing, Aftershock, Earth Shield, Master the Elements, Nature's Guardian, Primal Elementalist, and Stormkeeper. It's the standard build, prioritizes a little speed over execution, not choosing Elemental Blast in the beginning, but it's just what I ended up going with. I went with Kelia, Elysian Dirge being the potency I go with, but you can see I have 184 at the time recording this. Spiritual Grace gives me Spirit Walker's Grace, the ability to move while casting whenever I have Hero up, which ended up being really good. And a bunch of other defensive talents. I'm reinforced here on my chest, giving me the stam. I'm starting with the Lava Surge boots as my legendary. Got my flask and oil running, although the food and oil aren't necessary. And then I start layer 8. From here, I end up fishing for a good starting power and floor combination. What I'm looking for here is any of the S or A tier options with an okay negative. The negatives that are better are ones like the ones where you take damage every second or where you spawn mobs or those types. Unfortunately, I don't get it on the first couple of attempts, which is okay. It took me 6 or 7, I think. The ones you specifically want to avoid are the health and then the health and the magic damage. But here I get the whip, which is probably the best starting power you can possibly get. I get the spawn, the stalkers, which is also probably the best power. That's the best combination. There was an argument here to take the Winged Seer, the totem buff. It is best here. It's an early game epic. It's really good. It's never going to be better than on your first choice. So picking up here would have been fine, but compared to the whip, having constant hero, you just can't beat it. Just like I'm just gonna run through this run, just chilling with my heroism the whole way, and it's gonna be a good ride. What you're gonna see for a lot of my pulls and the way I approach things is start to finish. It's gonna be a lot of single pack pulls. Take it real slow, pull literally every single mob, get every single buff available, like just pick up everything. You're not in a race against time, so there's no reason to like hinder yourself unless you're personally pressed for time. But I would advise not doing Twisting Corridor when you're personally pressed. I'd just wait till the next opportunity you had. You can see there that I target the sentinels. That's a common excuse me. That's a common activity that you'll be doing in Twisting Corridors, is either rushing the sentinel, finding where it is on the floor and taking it out so that you no longer have its persistent damage reduction buff, or not knowingly avoiding it. I end up actually potioning there. I obviously didn't need it, but on these first elites, the first or second floor elites, if your gear is where mine is, I think I was 214 or 15 when recording this, you're gonna overpower it, but it's hard to not just be careful on these earlier floors when you don't have constant earth elemental. The thing to know about these skeletal remnants is that these packs generally are non-threatening. It's very hard for them to deal meaningful damage to you, with the exception of that floor effect. So you just have to avoid getting baited and taking extra damage. Picking up the Venom, that's the increased critical strike damage and healing by 6%, is super duper good. Is not quite 6% damage and healing in the end, but it's pretty gosh darn close. Because you end up naturally picking up a fair amount of crit. I think going into this, I'm running near 20%. And then I pick up my elemental core here. Nice. But you have almost 100% of your damage in the late game is crits. So it is 6% damage, but it's the healing that may not always be 6%. So for other classes, may not be as valuable, but for shamans, elemental shamans, it's probably it's maybe not necessarily the best stat option you can pick up, but it probably is just for throughput and damage. So you definitely, as you see them, it's nice. It's not something that you get super excited about, but you're still happy to see it, kind of thing. Here in these rooms, again, slow and steady. A lot of single packs, nothing wild. I'm not wasting my Earth Elemental. I'm constantly dropping my Vesper and my Healing Stream Totem to get use out of those. Constantly want my Earth Shield to be getting value. You can see here that I twist around the right side here to get to the Sentinel again. These soulbound remnants, they give you 1% main stat, which doesn't sound super impactful, but at the end of the run, every single one of them ends up being above 1,000k DPS value. Like, it starts getting like obnoxiously obscene as you start getting the really higher numbers. When you start doing like 140, 150k DPS, every one of those is like a huge factor in like hitting those higher numbers. So you want to be like looking for them, picking them up. They're basically free value. With these cauldrons, it's important to know that the cauldrons aren't interruptible by melee attacks, so you can just sit and cast on it. They're not really threatening. I frankly don't know why they exist in Torghast. They're never threatening, but they're an annoyance, I guess. I don't know. They're cool looking. I just don't think they're a very cool gameplay mechanic, but you just walk over, click them, ignore it. Maybe there's a universe where you just skip them entirely because they never drop anything for you, and the folks that it spawns don't actually give you anything, but I generally don't ever skip them just for the threat of like accidentally pulling something extra. You can see here in moments that I let my Earth Shield drop off a lot. I definitely recommend creating a weak aura or some type of reminder for yourself to constantly be reapplying it. It's not a really big deal now, because I'm not really either. I don't really need that much healing. I don't really need that much healing, and I'm not doing that. Like, there's just not a lot of throughput. There's not a lot of risk. But when you get later on in the floors, when you're doing 10, 15k HPS, it just, like, that's 20% of it, right? So it starts becoming incredibly valuable. I resummoned my little friend there. I don't know why. I was full on files at the time, but just safety, I guess. These guys are probably the least threatening of the bosses, I think. Stunning, interrupting. Not really the volleys, it's the single target blast, and the other thing are the big interrupt targets. Not Bind of the Fallen, because again, the skeletons just don't do anything. They disappear afterwards. This is my first incredibly hard pick of the run. Generally, if you go by the book, purely by the book, I think I'm supposed to take Untainted Waters, the 25% damage reduction here. Let me go double check the list. I think that's what I'm supposed to do. But I really struggle because each one of the choices, and you can see that I'm going to hold on to this power for a while. I continue to clear the floor while I think about it. It's like I'm not in a rush to pick it. But each one of them really has their own benefit. The knockdown, the 25% damage increase, is something I'm going to want by the end of the run. I'm definitely going to want one of, and since I already have the Deathseer's Whip, I'm already like pretty close. Like, I already have one of the epic powers. The damage reduction isn't super valuable right now, but the Secret Spices is as good as it's ever going to be. I can guarantee that I'm going to get the stacks, and I'm going to get them early so that they're valuable. So it's basically, do I want to go with the late game options or the value mid game option? That'll end up being good late game. And I sort of struggle with what's the right choice? Yeah, Untainted Water is my second in A tier. The Boulder is number 3 in A tier, and then Secret Spices is 9. But I ended up going with Secret Spices just because I got it floor 1. It's also a blue, a rare, so it's less likely that I'm seeing it. I'm basically guaranteed to see another water somewhere down the line. And if I don't get another boulder, it's not the end of the world. It's only super great if you get it in combination anyway. The other stuff. So I decided to go with the value pick and take the spices. Here, it's a snap choice. It's the tremor. You need to, and you want them as early as you can possibly get. I'm really not a fan. So before I talk about that, right here I struggle between these two choices. The 300 Phantasma or the 10 Soul Remnants. Again, I told you, the 10 Soul Remnants are huge. End game, they are going to be a game changer. That's going to be 10k DPS, right? But the Phantasma, especially on these earlier floors, is wildly valuable. It gets you more because not having to skip things in the shop ends up being more valuable because those can end up being worth more than the DPS. So if it wasn't this floor, if it wasn't floor 1, I don't think I would have made either of those choices. I don't think I would have taken the Soul Lash or the Phantasma. But since I got those both floor 1, and I know that I'm going to want the Phantasma for I know I'm going to want it for the store. It's hard not to pick that stuff. But what I was going to say is the Um, the the storm conduits is what it is. Yeah, storm conduit. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's not bad. Um, it's extremely valuable early on. Um, when your damage distribution has a lot of lightning bolts in it. But it's not something that helps you. It's just never going to be valuable in the end game. You'd have to get something like um, it's like 4 or 5, and then you switch over to like the storm elemental talent, and then it starts becoming like a super damage throughput thing. But that just doesn't synergize. I'm not a big fan of that build. It's good for it's good for normal Torghast when you're not trying to deal 8 million DPS kind of thing. Um, it's very good for trash. It's very good for efficiency, but we're looking at value. We're looking at value, and that's just not a value pick. So you only pick it whenever it's like when you have to. Like in this situation, like if it was there, obviously you take whatever you get, right? You don't have a choice. These Lords of Torments, be super scary. I like to pull them alone. You can see like as I'm pulling these rooms, it's like slow and steady. Everything is a single pull. I try to clear out for the elites to do alone. Trying to make use of my elementals with the elites. Trying to get to sentinels quickly. All that kind of good behavior is going to make it much easier for your run. You can see here that I was indicating my damage. You can see that even now it's still very much lava bursts. I haven't even done much to strengthen it. I just have elemental core at 20 stacks. But even with just that, like it's already like carrying my damage really hard. Stormkeepers are still going to be a huge chunk of damage, but it's only burst damage. Burst AoE, burst single target. It'll be the lava blasts that carry me. Yeah, but as you can see for the rest of this run, it's very pull 2 mobs, kill them, make sure that I'm dropping my healing totems, stay alive, take it easy. Which isn't super exciting. Like I did this on some other classes already. I've cleared layer 8 on a number of classes now, and Elemental Shaman was definitely the slowest clear I've had. It was the safest. This is going to be the safest run you see of it. But that's the thing. It's so safe, and the way that you're safe is by going slow. Part of the reason it took me so long in real life is I made sure to take breaks. It's really easy to just want to power through this because you may not find it to be super entertaining. But you just every time you take a break and reset your mind to not get trapped into the lull, you'll perform better. Here I'm talking about the healing stream totem that I'm about to pick up. See, it's healing for 857 a tick. It's about 10 to 15% of my overall health pool. When I pick this up, it goes up to like 30% of my health pool that I'll be healing every time I drop the totem. I think people in both Mythic Plus rating and Torghast content, underestimate the value of Elemental's Healing Stream Totem. It does a lot of healing. A lot. The issue is that, like, compared to some other classes that also do a lot of off healing, like Shadow Priests or some of the other folks, you have to spend a lot of GCs on it. It's up every 30 seconds, and it's hard, especially in like competitive rating when you're always trying to parse to spend that GCD every time. But it's just one of those things that you have to kind of condition yourself that, like, it's reapplying a flame shock to get a couple of seconds extra is probably worth the DPS. It's definitely worth doing when you're mobile, but probably isn't worth it compared to the healing that you're gaining. And in Torghast, that's a fact. Like, you just need to be dropping it. You meet because in Torghast, so many of your powers just rely on you dropping totems constantly. Here for a moment I hover over, you can see a weak row on my screen, which is the Master of Elements. You see it ticking down 9, 8. What that does is every time I cast Lava Surge, my next Nature or Frost spell deals 20% increased damage. So you're supposed to be cycling Lava, Earth Shock, Lava, Lightning Bolt. Here I first get the Sentinel before the rare kind of thing. I think I choose to go with a Fire Elemental here, right? Yeah. I don't feel like I'm in danger, but I still pop a lot of cooldowns just to make sure that I'm completely safe. I think, if I remember correctly, I actually ended up dismissing this Fire Elemental for my, Earth Elemental. Because it's just, this guy, he's free. He's completely free. He's a free mob. But if you make an error, if you step in it and you get hit by one of those abilities and you get the debuff, either movement speed, damage, I forget all the things it can do. It's like movement speed, damage, and maybe damage taken or haste or something. But if you get any of those negatives, it's just like you're crippling yourself. The movement speed's the one that the least bad, but you just like, it's just like, I knew it doing this run. I was like, there's no way I'm getting hit. 0% chance. Oh, I did get hit by it, and I got the movement speed, right? Oh my god, I'm a goofball. Here, I think a lot of you are probably going to think, especially as like a new to Twisting Corridor, that the Subjugator Shackles are super good. It's like, dude, 5k damage for free on every mob. Dude, that's insane. That's like 3 or 4 lightning bolts instantly. And yeah, you're right. Floors 1 through 6, that power is insane. It's really powerful. But it, like, if you think about it, it like 4,000 DPS is really good. When you're only thinking in a short-term like bubble. Like, it's 4,000 DPS initially, and every second it just loses complete value. So like, it ends up being like less than 1% of your damage on a boss on like the later tiers. And it's just like, like, I don't think there's a universe where you pick that. I just don't think there's a universe where you make that choice. You choose the shackles instead. It's just not worth it. The haste will end up being so much more valuable. Healing, damaging. What ends up happening is that synergizes with your flame shocks and gets you more lava bursts. So the more haste you have, the better. So you see, I just end up going with the haste and not like it's either between haste or clearing the buffs, debuffs. But there's no way I'm picking that. Here, I'm given another incredibly difficult choice between Flames of the Cauldron and Unstable Waters, and it's actually like a crazy hard choice because you need 2 Flames of the Cauldron. You have to have it. So you have to pick it every time because you don't know when you're gonna get the second one. And Unstable Waters, you need that too because late game, like those guys will like knock you out. But I end up going with the Cauldrons just because there's a lot of defensive options you can get. None of them are as good as Unstable Waters. But Untaintable Waters, I'm sorry. But yeah, I ended up going with the short-term greed of going for the more lava bursts. All right. After this boss, I think I pretty quickly start to realize that my mic is now like off. Between these 4, Chains of Devastation is a useless talent, useless anima power. It's like actually straight garbage. With the exception of there is a epic anima power that makes you cast Chain Heal every now and then whenever your healing totem's down. So you always pick chains just because of that. Because every now and then you just get free Chain Lightnings. It's very niche. You never pick it over anything else, but if it's your only option, you pick it up. Here, between the 2, you don't have your cheat death a lot of times. You're going with the healing. I happen to have the cheat death, but you're basically choosing, do you want the cheat death, which I think is okay. I don't think it's very good, but it's okay. It can save your run, or the Curious Miasma. But I think you only pick the Miasma if you also have the damaging over time torment affix. So it's like a toss-up. I end up going with the refilling elixir because my intention is that later on I'll end up picking up more healing or stuff if I end up getting that that negative. All right. Thank you so much. Hopefully my other recording will pick up. Thank you.